166, which is more of a business nonprofit, which means we would be a charitable nonprofit. And I think we want to be a charitable nonprofit so we can do good and help the community and do more things. So that's why we passed the hat. You don't have to donate if you don't want to. So what else? We do have a LinkedIn group. So all of you who are new, please join us on LinkedIn. We also have a Facebook page, and you can join us there.
Follow us on Twitter.
Yeah, you can follow us on Twitter. Thank you, Megan. Just search for LA2M, and then you can find all of our things. And there's a lot of, the purpose of this group is to teach people about marketing, to network, connect, have an excuse to get together and really learn something. I learn something every week at LA2M. And the format is the speaker talks for approximately half an hour. There's some time for Q&A, and then at 12:40 approximately, we go into introductions, and everybody gets to say who they are, what their business is, and what they're looking for. So that gets to go around the whole room. So any questions before we get started? Does anybody have an announcement that they want to give before we get started? Any big events happening?
Where's Dee?
Where's Dee? Where's Dee? Dee's right here. Okay, Dee is here. Oh, one quick announcement. I am speaking tomorrow night at the New Enterprise Forum. Anybody ever go to those New Enterprise Forum events? Yeah. NEF? Okay, good. Yeah, so there's going to be a panel. It's the Unusual Entrepreneurs.
So where is it?
So I guess I'm an unusual entrepreneur. It's at Holiday Inn, the one on Plymouth Road. And Plymouth Road, Holiday Inn, Plymouth Road 23. And I believe networking starts at 5:45, something like that. Right? 5?
5 is registration.
Oh, it starts around 5. Okay. So if you want to go to NEF, and there's some actually really good speakers there.
Recording.
What's that?
Recording.
Okay, Vince at BC. Oh, thanks, Vince. Yeah, Vince at BC Web Design is recording the NEF program tomorrow. And they also record LA2M. Vince records it for podcasts at BC Web Design. Normally Roger Rail records it for video, but today Grant from Ingenix is recording it for video because Roger's gone. So, yeah, the guy who invented some really cool garden tool, the Radius garden tool is there, right? That guy's pretty good. I mean, and the BG Kids guy is there, so it's going to be fun. So feel free to come out to NEF tomorrow. And, okay, so today we have a guy, a friend of mine. He's been a very supportive member of LA2M. What a great community member. Ever since Don joined this group, he's been like a force of good for LA2M. So I feel very grateful. But he works at Fleming Artists, which, as most of you should know, is a really incredible music booking agency, in-town talent agency. They work with a great amount of artists. They do a lot of the shows and events that you see around town, including Sonic Lunch, right? Do you guys help that? Okay. But you help that, don't you? They help Sonic Lunch. Okay, sorry. Shouldn't misspeak. But they do a lot of great events. And Don also has, he's 8box Don on Twitter. He has 8box Productions, which is his own company, and you probably can tell more about that. So he's going to talk about music and marketing, and if you could please give a big round of applause to Don Kline.
All right. How's everybody doing today? Good to see you. So my name is Don Kline, and welcome to the Sound Message Music in Your Marketing Mix. I was a little worried that we wouldn't have many people here today because in my description that we posted up on the site, I talked more about just kind of a generalization of music and marketing, and it really, it can be specific, it can be generalized, it can be applied to a number of practices. I'm going to talk a little bit today about the science of music in the brain. I'm going to talk a little bit about the history of jingles and how they work, and then I'm also going to talk about application for smaller businesses on the web. So I'll try to cover everything, and then I look forward to your questions at the end. So a little bit about me. I'm a musician, composer. I do marketing, and I'm a family guy. I've got a wife, 2 kids, 2 and 4, and I'm lucky enough to use music and marketing every day in what I do. It's a little dark. I'm sorry that I should have used the white font there, but as early as I can remember, I've known music. My first kind of introduction to it was singing in the choir in school and church, and throughout the years all through college, I was the choir boy. Lost a lot of lunch money, but it did get me one day through practice. It got me to Carnegie Hall, not once but twice, and even the Vatican. So I've sung all over the world and have had a lot of great experiences through choir and through music, and it was a great way for me to be introduced to something that would be such a passion in my life. In college, as parents often tell you, you have to have something to fall back on. So that for me was marketing. I just kind of picked it out of thin air. I thought it would be fun, and now it's as much of a passion for me as music, and they work hand in hand with what I do. So I'm very thankful for that. In college, I also thought it'd be fun to start a rock band. So, for lack of a better name, I chose Ession, which is noise spelled backwards. And for about 10 years, we played all over, and more regionally than not. But we did get out and did some stuff across the U.S. and eventually ended up with doing a tour with Jesus Jones, and that was an introduction that I had into the business. Where at the same time I was working as an editor for the All Music Guide, allmusic.com. I also became Jesus Jones tour manager and was able to see the business from that side. A few years ago, in the corner of our basement, I started 8box Music, which Derek touched on. I do music composition for TV, games, film, the web. I do music supervision for film. I'm actually working on one that's being produced here in Ann Arbor, Ann Arbor. And now, having looked back, I've seen both sides of the story. I've seen the creative and the business sides of the industry. I've seen kind of what works, and finding out more about the science of how music affects the brain. I'm also now passionate about that subject, and I'm glad to bring that to you today. So, if it was after 5, we'd be talking about another kind of mixology here at Cotter O'Neill's. It's lunchtime, so let's talk web marketing mixology. Now, when you start a website, obviously, one of the first things you're going to look into is graphic design. You're going to look at SEO and social networking. We've had a lot of great speakers here talk about tying those in and really making an effective sales pitch for your brand online, with the goal of connecting that content to the emotional value and getting the people that visit your site connected to your brand or to what you're selling emotionally, so that they feel compelled to actually do business with you. If that doesn't work, or if you just want to take it the next step, music, rhythm, sound, and context can be a great added value. If used properly, can really accentuate your brand. Now, this slide is taken from a U2 show, their 360 tour. And this slide was taken actually during the song Get On Your Boots. One of my favorite lines during that song is, let me in the sound. And let me in the sound actually speaks a lot to what we're talking about today. Music touches the heart and soul in ways that the spoken word cannot. And pardon the animation, I'm going to keep that to a minimum. But music really touches your soul in ways that words cannot. Music reaches things inside of you that when someone just speaks to you, they really can't connect in ways that music can. A little review for those of you who might have forgotten: right brain, left brain, what does it all mean? The right brain is your rock star. It's your creative, emotional, musical half of the brain. And it's with your left brain, which is your accountant. I'm not saying one is better than the other, but they do need to work together. We'll work it out, guys. The accountant likes facts, figures, and hard data, and when they work together, they really create a symbiosis that enables you to receive communication and internalize it and actually turn it into something that compels you to do something that hopefully your brand, drive you to the brand and the action that you're looking for on the web. A couple quotes here. There's Bono's Let Me in the Sound, Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, Leo Tolstoy. They all touched on kind of the fact that it's a great communicator, it's a great touchstone to emotion and to getting words to not only be heard but felt. How many people here have heard of earworms? Sorry for those of you with squeamish stomachs that are eating right now. It's really not as gross as it sounds. Earworms are those 15 to 30 second snippets of sound and music that get stuck in your brain. You just can't get them out. You hear them a lot on the radio. Songwriters are great at creating earworms in choruses. Britney Spears, Kesha, anything that's been on the charts over the past 10 years or more, is really, it's all about the earworm. Well, in advertising, it's not much different. The economics of the earworm rely on that repetition, using different parts of your inner ear and your brain to basically embed a message inside you and actually compel you to do something. Those are some big words for what I'm talking about. Repentinitis, melody mania. These are actually used to define how an earworm gets stuck in your brain. More technically, shopping at the phonological store, that's actually your inner ear, and that's what remembers sounds in chronological order. And when used with your articulatory rehearsal system, which remembers things in sequence and repeats them, it breaks down those walls between you and your audience and actually works to deliver the message. Couldn't resist. Having two kids, actually, we listen to Raffi, and Banana Phone, if you haven't heard it, is a really infectious song, and the chorus is ring, 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 Banana Phone. So there you go, that's earworms at work. So now we talked about the science. We're going to talk a little bit more about the history of jingles. I'm going to talk more about the web and application for small business. I'm not going to skip over that, but first I just want to talk about the history of jingles and how over time they've developed and been used to define brands and sell products. So, beginning with the 20s, the first commercial. Can anybody think of what the first commercial ever on radio was? Wheaties, the Breakfast of Champions, 1926. The first commercial to ever use a jingle, way back then. Widely popular, caught on very quickly. In the 30s and 40s, there were some rules that were really making it difficult to get jingles heard. So advertisers had to be a little more savvy, a little more clever, and actually the only way to get your message heard in a song would be to introduce a show. So you'd hear, my, it's Eskimo Pie, and now the Jenkins Family Show, and that was the only way to really get your message heard. They didn't have commercials per se anymore. So the 30s and 40s really was a different, kind of a turning stone for advertising and using jingles. Okay, actually we're going to have a little bit of sound now. In the 50s we had, of course, TV, and one of the first, also, we don't have samples of the first two because back then they used 3-minute, 4-minute commercials. There was talking, there was a lot of dialogue, and it was more of a mini infomercial almost on the radio. Well, with the advent of TV and of more expensive airtime, we cut to 30-second commercials or less. So, we're a nonprofit, soon to be nonprofit. These are 30 seconds or less, and I'm just spreading information, so I'm going to play some songs that otherwise I'd have to copyright. Or license rather. So the first one is a Winston cigarette commercial, which was the first really catchy jingle back in the 50s. Cigarettes, right? Winston gives you real flavor, full of rich tobacco flavor. Winston easy going to the filter and the flavor through. Winston tastes good like a cigarette. Woo-hoo, let's smoke. It's so and there were lots of those cigarettes and alcohol and let's just get wasted and smoke and let's woo-hoo. Then the 60s came, and the longest used jingle ever in history, in the history of advertising, was a toy. And once you hear it, it's infectious, and actually once you see the next kind of slide there, you're going to know. But advertisers found that if they use sing-songy, nursery rhyme-like songs to pitch to children as they're watching TV, as their parents sit them in front of the TV, Mom, Dad, I have to have that. Well, it reaches them the same way they learn through nursery rhymes, and advertisers found this. And it not only works for them, it works for their parents, so it's good all the way around. So this song actually became the longest running jingle in advertising history. Suggestive advertising. Buy it. So then we hit the 70s. Now in the 70s we had the advertisers were like, okay, let's get stars in on this. If you hear it from John Travolta, Sammy Davis Jr., Barry Manilow, you're really gonna want to buy it because it's cool to them, right? They're singing on it. So you found more, Barry Manilow actually, he who did not write the song that makes the whole little sing, wrote two of the most widely used jingles, Band-Aid, I'm stuck on Band-Aid brand because Band-Aid's stuck on me. He also wrote State Farm, Like a Good Neighbor, State Farm is There. That's all Barry Manilow. Well, he actually wrote some stuff that John Travolta sang, and actually this next one is undeniably, I'm sorry, you know what, I got ahead of myself. I'm talking 1978. Before that, in 1971, The Hilltop, one of the most widely loved advertising jingles of all time, and so successful they brought it back in 1990, 2006, and 2010. I'm talking Coca-Cola, and this is I'd Like to Teach the World to Sing in Perfect Harmony. They brought it back over and over and over again because it connected a multi-generational advertising campaign, and actually the first song to chart on Billboard from an advertising jingle. It was commissioned for Coke and ended up on the Billboard charts. Now we hit 1978, late 70s into the 80s and 90s, an era of nostalgia. Let's get back to simple, let's get snappy, let's get really quick and to the punch. So we want to use more of the science that I was talking about in the 70s, 80s, and 90s and really get that earworm going again. These were great. This was a whole song that became an advertising campaign, but let's get back to really the heart of it. We want to sell more, we're savvy. It's the 80s, the 90s. So they got Sammy Davis Jr. to do this. A proud moment. And now in the 2000s, I guess that's what we're calling them, we're finding that instead of commissioning jingles or commissioning music, it's easier to just go find something you like, maybe attach, get your finger on the pulse, attach to something that's up and coming, or maybe even something that's huge in the charts, depending on what your budget is, and redefine the brand, reinvigorate it through something that's already out there doing something, and take the chorus, which is often the earworm of a popular song in pop music, and just license it for your brand. Cadillac has done a great version, a great application of this through using Led Zeppelin, using the band Phoenix. They've gone back to the 70s and gotten a great rock song, and now with Phoenix, they've attached themselves to a really hit band, from France that's all over the charts. And this commercial actually helped reinvigorate their SRX brand this year.
Reimagined. Re-inspired. Reinvigorated. All designed to reignite the soul. The all-new 2010 SRX. The Cadillac of crossovers.
So there you have it. In a nutshell, there's jingle history. So let's all go smoke, drink, play with Slinkies, drink Coke, take Alka-Seltzer, and drive a Cadillac. So what does it all mean? How does all this parlay into, how does music make you buy? What gets back from the science to the history to how do I use it in my everyday application? Well, we all consume differently. We're more savvy, we're more portable, we're portable people. We all are influenced in different ways. So as marketing people, how do we sell to such a wide variety of tastes and people that are just plugging in all different ways? Well, we all buy the same. And really this is a really basic concept, but it really applies to music because emotion is at the heart of these purchases and of the influence. And through the emotion of using music, the right music, with your brand or your advertising, you can really connect, and no matter how somebody's plugging in and consuming, you can sell to them. This is Lake Michigan in Manistee, one of my favorite pictures. This was at a friend's cottage, and it just reminded me, the mirror image reminded me of the saying, art imitates life and imitates art. And how can I apply that to music? Well, mind mirrors music, mirrors mind. And really, if you think about this, your mind is influenced by what you hear more than what you think. When you're in a storefront, I was just having a conversation here with Roger about when you're in a storefront and you don't hear music, it's almost odd, it's eerie. You're so used to being bombarded everywhere with music. Well, usually you don't notice it because it's the right music. You're in like Abercrombie and Fitch and it's the hip store and you hear techno music, they're selling the CDs, it's great. You're in, a bookstore, maybe they're playing jazz or classical and it's relaxing, so you don't really notice it. It doesn't call your attention, but it soothes you and puts you in the right mood to be where you are and do what you're doing. The power of sound is an essential tool in a marketer's effort to communicate, influence, and persuade an audience. Isn't that what your website is supposed to do? So this speaks, Jerry Bader of Focus.com actually speaks to not just using, I'm talking about jingles and commercials, and that's all great, but for most of us, we're not advertising on the radio, TV. If we're doing anything with music, we're going to use it on our websites, maybe, or consider it. Well, this is definitely an argument for that it's definitely something that compels. And if used properly, and maybe used, cleverly, it can really enhance as opposed to detract from your brand, and maybe even like Cadillac, reinvigorate what you're doing. This is another picture of Mackinac Island. I just couldn't help it but take a shot. Pardon the pun. There's a cannon pointing at a boat. You see all kinds of great stuff like that on Mackinac Island. But I'm targeted with your mix. Now, how does this apply to you? What are some specific things that I can do as a marketer here with a small business to use all of this science and all this history to really parlay that into my message? If I had a hammer, tools of the trade. Something you can do is go on Google and just search for royalty-free music. This is music that you don't have to worry about ever getting socked with a lawsuit. You can use freely. You want to be careful and make sure it's legitimately royalty-free and also that it's of good quality. And often you don't have to worry about getting in touch with anybody to use it. I mean, they've said on their website or wherever you're getting it from that it's free for use, and if it fits your message, go for it. Also, Creative Commons license. It's a type of license that there are different varieties, so you have to kind of watch out for which variety it's licensed under, but it's something that you can also use and search on Google for that. And that can get you music on your site quickly and cost effectively. If there's a song you absolutely have to have, say for instance Cadillac using Phoenix 1901 was our example. Cadillac likely went to ASCAP or BMI and they either typed in the name of the song or they typed in Phoenix, the band, or there's a number of ways you can search, but you can find the publishing information there for any song that you're hearing on the radio. Using that information, you can get in touch with the publisher and actually get a quote for the use that you intend. Once you do that, the process involves getting a master license, because in most cases it's owned legally by a record label or entity, or you need to obtain that master license from whoever owns the recorded version of the song. And next, if you're going to use it in TV or film, you want to get a sync license or a synchronization license. If you're just doing a radio commercial, look into a transcription license, and that'll actually get you what you need. So there are varieties of ways you can license the music that costs money, and there's a number of ways here at the top where you can actually find music to use for free. If your budget's a little bit, if it doesn't include something for music, because often they're expensive to license, or if you just want to give it a try and you don't want to invest anything in the beginning, just go for it. Just really think about different ways that you can incorporate music into your mix and maybe plug them into your site or a storefront, and just give it a try. Royalty-free is a great way to do that because it doesn't cost you any money. Now, if you're going to use music on a website, we've all been bombarded with that song. As soon as you hit a site, just blasting, and you either hit back or stop, or you just close, and you just all of a sudden you're not on the page, and that's definitely not a response that we want. So, 10 quick tips. Lee Pritchard, who actually is a composer in England and works with marketing and music, came up with 10 quick tips for using music on websites. Make sure it enhances your message in your site. Make sure you're not using it just to be cool, or, man, I heard that song on the radio, and there's a band that sounds just like that. I'm going to use that. Maybe people think I'm cool. That's not the right message. You want to evoke a feeling and connect people with your message and your brand, and you are attaching yourself to the feeling of that song, so make sure it's right for you. Make sure there's an off button. If you're going to have any kind of music on your site, whether it starts immediately, which I can't be more against music starting automatically when you visit a site. It's a bad practice if you ask me, but either if you start it or if there's an on button, make sure in either case there's an off button. Make sure there's a way that people can read your website and your message and browse without being bombarded with sound and no way to turn it off. Be legal. Using the slide before, make sure you've done your due diligence with ASCAP and BMI, or making sure that it's royalty-free, and that you're not in any kind of danger of being sued for using the music. Even though you might think, I'm a business in Ann Arbor, I have a few hundred customers that I rely on for my income. I don't think anybody out in the outside world is really going to notice if I use it. They will. There are ways that people can find out if you're using their music, and this is just not a good practice. So make sure you're legal or using a song that's royalty-free. Audio quality. Nothing says Web 1.0 like MIDI. Make sure you don't use MIDI, even though you can get by with certain kinds of licensing. If you're not buying the master, you're just buying a varied version of the song or a cover. MIDI's just, don't do MIDI. So you want to do high quality. Obviously, as we get, hopefully we get Google Fiber here in town, broadband, our speeds are just, we're going to go fiber optic, our speeds are going to be great. We're not going to be so consumed with, well, what if I put an MP3 on my site, or my flash player, just whatever it is, make sure that you use the best quality that your technological, what you have technologically available to you will allow. And next, complement your site and your brand. I kind of talked about that and enhance it. Don't start too loud. If you're going to have music that starts automatically, make sure it doesn't just blare. Make sure it kind of ramps up and kind of eases in. That's kind of the next point there. Maybe plays as background music. Are you going to use it for the background, or are you going to use it for the intro? Are you going to have a loop? Don't loop it for the whole time that a visitor's on the site, because that's going to also turn them off. Make sure if you're going to use loops, it's for an intro and it plays once or twice and it goes away. If you're not, make sure the background music is a lengthy enough amount of time that it's going to actually complement the site as background music, and it's not going to call attention away from what you're trying to sell on the site or present information on your site. Again, don't employ the butcher. This is don't get too technically into, as video and music merge together on sites, don't get too involved with hacking your video and your music and trying to get them to work together, because they're never going to quite match up. They're going to, with different formats, it's always going to be an issue trying to get them to match up thoroughly. If you're using separate components, if you can tie them in with like a YouTube video or something like that, where you have a soundtrack for a video and it's all plugged in with a YouTube embedded YouTube window, you'll be fine. But if you try to use Flash here, and you're going to try to have this link here, and just be really careful and don't have too much going on your site. Keep it simple. And there you have it, in rockstar fashion. Thank you and good night. I'm Don Kline, and if you have any questions, I'm available at 8boxmusic.com, 8box Don on Twitter, and like Derek said, I work with Fleming artists down the street, and we're on Twitter as well, Fleming artists. We have a YouTube channel if you want to check out some of the music that we have there, and also some of our artists, of late, especially with their videos, have done a great job merging video with sound. And obviously it's a music video, it's by nature it's going to do that, but they've done a really good job evoking a feeling through the visual, and then the sound complements that. It's not like you're just watching something that's cool, listening to a cool song, as often videos. I mean, it really is the perfect combination of video and sound. Music videos now, I mean, obviously MTV's not playing videos anymore, they're playing The Hills. So really, the web is a great way for that to for music videos to still exist and to get that out there and expose bands. So I'd say check it out because we have a couple artists, especially that are doing something cool with video right now and make a good use of video paired with sound. So that's all I have, and I'm ready for your questions. Thank you.
I was just curious, you mentioned doing your due diligence to make sure that it is legal. Do you send the file to this group and say, could you review this for me and pay a fee, and that way you make sure you're okay with using something that's free on the web?
Good question. Instead of actually sending an example, often what they do is they have a form, and you just fill out the form with your intended use, how long you intend to use it for, what exactly. It's really a lengthy form that speaks exactly to what you're doing, and they don't really need to see an example as much as know on paper what you're doing, and then they'll just it's a bargaining process. They'll ask you how much you have to spend, and maybe you'll go back and forth a few times, and if you're lucky, you'll get it for very little money. In some cases, if it's a very popular song, you're going to be stuck paying thousands of dollars. I mean, it's such a range that I didn't really touch on the fees paid, but I mean, it can get into the thousands, tens of thousands of dollars depending on the use. So
I guess I was more wondering about the ones that are supposedly free on the web. How do you do your due diligence on that to make sure they're legit? Sure.
The ones that are free, anything that's royalty free, the due diligence rather is you just want to make sure that I know one site, royaltyfreemusic.com, is out there. There are a few that exist that, I mean, by nature, by the URL, it's royalty free. But some of them, like it's a composer that just puts his stuff out there and says, feel free to use my stuff. He's more or less said in the intro to his page, go ahead and use it. I don't really mind how, it's royalty free, do whatever you want with it. With Creative Commons, which is the other part of free, you want to be careful that the type of license, there are a few that exist. It can be, use it, there's share alike, which is if you're getting it for free, I want you to use it any way you want as long as what you're doing is free. There are different ways that you can kind of turn that into, well, I'm not really selling your song, maybe I'm remixing it. Artists use Creative Commons all the time to give away their music so artists can remix it without fear of legal action. On a website, you might be able to use it if it's just a completely open license. So you just want to make sure what type of license it is. Google's great, Wikipedia will tell you different types of licenses and their definitions. And I would just say start there, and then on the site just make sure that they're blatantly clear that it's free.
Hi, can you think of any notable failures of pairing music with marketing?
Stumped. Not off the top of my head, but that's a good question. Actually, after the talk, later this week, I'd like to put, on my site, I'll put a white paper, and I'll probably include some that I can think of later, but that's a good question. Thanks.
How are people handling the discovery process and actually finding a sound that fits for them? I know, like, when I walk in the mall, I can usually tell before I go into a store if I'm going to like what they sell or not, because if I don't like the music that's playing outside, chances are whatever's inside isn't going to be for me either.
A lot of the royalty-free sites, actually, and even the paid sites. And I'm not talking, when I'm saying paid, I'm not talking ASCAP, BMI. There's some that will just, $15 free use. Once you get it, you can use it however you want. Just pay me $15 for the song. You can look at my feel and emotion. Like I want happy, I want, and I want a sound alike. I want to sound like, I want Led Zeppelin, rock and roll. I want Phoenix. I want kind of an electro, kind of edgy vibe. I want happy. I need something somber, sad. You can go through all the feelings, and it'll actually create a results list that you can choose from. And there's the fees and everything. Most sites have that plugged in. If not, then you just kind of have to poke through and listen. But I mean, more often than not, the savvy sites will actually include some sort of an emotional categorization. So
I guess actually like a step up from that though, like how are companies deciding that I need to actually move their products?
I think it mostly is the target market that decides that. Obviously Abercrombie and Fitch are going for teens, 20s, and they're going to play something that's more often than not dancey, upbeat. They're not going to play smooth jazz. So they kind of just look at their clientele, they look at their target market, and they think, what are they listening to on the radio? What moves them? If you're trying to evoke relaxation and you're marketing to 50 and 60-year-olds, you're probably going to find some really cool jazz, maybe some classical. And you just kind of have to know who your target market is, and you also have to be really in touch with the feeling of your market, what you're trying to portray for your brand, and what you're trying to get them to feel. That's the whole music into the mind mirrors, music mirrors mind, getting them to feel what you're trying to get them to feel through the music. So you really just have to kind of dial into what you want them to feel, and then also what age range they are, what they're listening to on the radio.
Thanks, Dan. Yeah, so this is very exciting. I just want to bring up two examples, maybe you can comment on them. One is, for example, those Apple commercials, with the silhouette of the people, and some of those songs started as commercials but then became hits, similar to Coke. Then the other thing is, if you flip that, look at someone like Lady Gaga, who puts product placement in her videos. She probably makes a ton of money doing that, I would bet. She would have to. So I just wonder if you can comment on those two dichotomies of how bands are using or succeeding with marketing.
Exactly. Phoenix actually is a good example with the Cadillac again. Phoenix they were starting to gain some ground, but they were still only kind of had indie cred. They weren't all over the charts when Cadillac first started using them, and then all of a sudden they blew up, and everyone had the album. Same thing with Apple. Apple uses you in a commercial. They're short, they're snappy, they're very cool, simple productions, these Apple commercials, and the music that they choose is very similar to that. Unless it's like, U2, obviously they're going for bombast, and it works for them too. But if it's a smaller, lesser-known band, they often become well-known through just the fact that it's Apple, but also the way that they use it. It's very smart. Music takes center stage for a moment, and then the message comes on, and then the logo comes on, and then music comes back. It's really the methodology of how the commercials work also says something to how the song's presented. Is it background music, or are they trying to really make a statement with the lyrics of the song and the music of the song? And then with Lady Gaga with product placement, a great example of that recently, I'm biased because I just saw Devo at the Power Center as part of the Arbor Summerfest, but they sold their souls to Dell for an advertisement, and they stayed away from advertising forever, and then finally, we're going to align with the brand because obviously we haven't had an album in 20 years. We want to come back, and this might be a good vehicle to do that. So Dell said, all right, cool, we're gonna use your song, but we're gonna remix it. Devo's like, they just don't want anybody touching their stuff. They're very hands-on with their material. So they gave it to the Teddy Bears, which at that time were not really well known, and now they're, pretty well known. And Devo the same with, people remember them in their novelty acts, but this new song really caught on, and they actually said it was better than their original song. This was something where their product placement, not so much the brand, I'm not speaking like the product placement in the video, but maybe aligning yourself with the brand, was great for them. It boosted, they were everywhere on these Dell commercials, and they had indie cred because they were working with the Teddy Bears, and it was just great for them all the way around. And Dell looked hip and cool because they were using a cool new Devo track, so it spoke to nostalgia, but it also had that cool hip electro vibe too. So that's a good way that you can also kind of look into, how can I tap into a number of things? I want to be nostalgic because nostalgia always usually sells. I want to be cool and hip and be dialed in with the pulse. How can I do that? Well, something like Dell, their marketing team came up with a good idea with having Teddy Bears remix Devo and attach it to an ad. So.
Hi Don, I was wondering a little bit more about what you do with Fleming artists, and if there is instances where you help your artists gain commercial placement or try to connect with new audiences through some of the things that you talked about, with putting music on their websites and connecting with people.
Good question. the marketing director, for those of you who don't know, for Fleming Artists, and I work with artists to make sure their brand image is consistent across social media and their websites. I don't work so much with the sound on their sites, and we don't really do a lot of the placement. We're a booking agency, and we're just now starting to do a little bit of music placement, looking into licensing as a possible option for us in the future. But right now we don't do a whole lot of that. We're rooted as a booking agency, and we like to help artists in different ways. You know, we'll do a consultation call and just give them our opinions, but we really don't. It's not a business for us, and so I don't do musical consultation for them, obviously. But you know, the brand consistency, it's all part of it. And if their YouTube channel speaks to the brand, you know, that might be a part of music and branding. So, does that answer your question? Or? Okay, great.
Hey Don, from an artist perspective, do you feel like it is important to like go out and get your music and have people use it for free and just do that, or should you monetize and give it a value for the exposure?
Great question. You know, my personal opinion on that is everyone's going to get your music for free anyway. So you might as well, why try to, licensing is a great way for artists to make money, but at the same time, free spreads. So my personal opinion is that you should give it away to smaller companies, hip companies, really align yourself with a cool brand. And then if it starts getting some traction, renegotiate and say, okay, if you want to continue, films do this all the time. Indie films will do a festival license where it's either free or a small charge to use a really huge song in just as they shop around to the film festivals. And if it gets picked up by, say, MGM, all of a sudden, hey, come back to the table. Now you've got distribution. You're going to be in the movie theaters. Now we want $1 million for the song. Same way with an artist. You can give away your music and just renegotiate eventually and say, if we start to get some traction and you get some traction, let's talk money. It'd be a good way to do it.
Hi Don. Is it cost prohibitive to have somebody actually write music for a website or something like that, or how does that work?
In the 2000s, we're seeing by major corporations kind of a move away from commissioning songs and more just licensing. But for smaller businesses, sure, it can be really cost effective and efficient and cool to just hire somebody to do original music. Because that's the thing about royalty free. It's free for you, so it's free for everyone. And it, you know, Creative Commons and royalty free, it sounds good on the surface, but if you're using the same song to really identify your brand, and then there's a competitor that's using the same music, you've instantly lost that identity. So having commissioning a song particularly for you can be a great option. And it can be cheap if you go local. So.
Hello. I have two questions. First, I was just wondering with your music supervision business if that's mostly stuff in Michigan. Are you doing film and TV in Michigan, or have you branched out? And secondly, with the economics, I guess, in Michigan, are you getting a lot of pressure just to cover songs, so you only have to get one license instead of getting the master? Just kind of curious about that.
I'll go second question first. Actually, that's a good question with the licensing. Obviously, it's less expensive if you do a cover version, and that's a great way to go, but it can still be expensive depending on the level of the song and how widely known it is. What I do, I'm just getting started with music supervision. I'm working on a film that's here in Michigan, and I'd like to stay in that part of what I do. I'd like to keep that here in Michigan because I think it's cool what we're doing here. It is kind of the LA of the Midwest, and like that 40%. That's where it's at right now. The production kick, I mean, it's great, and it's bringing business to Michigan that we wouldn't otherwise have. So I'd like to keep plugging away here. And there's great talent. I mean, actually, they're directors, writers all over here, and you see, major film crews filming all the time. So it's exciting.
I have two questions also. If I see something that I like on YouTube, can I put it on my site, or what are the rules regarding that? And the other question is, how long did that Sling commercial run?
Okay, the first question, I don't really know the rules on YouTube. I know there's lots of discussion. There might be somebody here that knows more about video and music. Okay, pass it to you after, because I really don't know. When that gets away from just the music alone and it gets into the video representation, I'm not sure what that entails, which I think she knows. The second question, I know the fact that it was the longest used, and I want to say it was 30 years. Because growing up in the 80s and 90s, I obviously heard it a lot myself. So there obviously wasn't that version, the scratchy old, original, but through the years, like the Coca-Cola song, it evolved and had different players, reinvent the song, but the same jingle kind of lasted throughout the years. So. Shed some light on YouTube.
But I mean, I guess it depends on what kind of thing you were putting out. Were you putting out like music videos or people doing covers or what kind of stuff?
Well, when you mentioned about YouTube, it just kind of, I thought, hey, what if I find something on YouTube that I really like? Can I use it?
Right. Well, I worked at a music publishing company in New York, and we kind of used to go after people who would have music and YouTube videos to take them down, or they would have to get permission and pay the publisher.
Yes, you have to be careful.
Yeah, and now like record labels are trying to get people, to take things off their site. So you have to be really careful, just to make sure that it's something that's already sanctioned by the record label.
Stay with the royalty free.
Better option. Yes, stay royalty safe and the safe bet. I would say yeah. I mean, if budget is a concern and you just don't want a threat of legal action and you want to stay clean, stay legal. That's for sure. Yep, I think.
Hey, anything real quick?
One more?
Yeah, real
okay.
quick.
All right. Thanks. I just want to emphasize real quick how useful the actual Creative Commons website is for finding the sort of royalty-free music. If you just go to creativecommons.org, it actually allows you to filter out by what type of music you're looking for, how you want to license it, royalty-free and all the other different kinds. It's actually a really well put together website for finding sound clips.
Awesome, thanks, Steve.
Good.
Thank you, everybody.
One more hand for Don. Thanks, Don. And I'm pretty sure that anything that's on YouTube you can embed on your site. Embed is the operative word because then it links back to YouTube, which then handles all legality. So that's my interpretation of that. So now we will go around the room and introduce ourselves. And we have 17 minutes to do that, which should be enough time. But, be brief. So we'll start with JT Peterson. Please stand up. And there you go.
Good afternoon. JT Peterson, a product manager in software and software as a service. I thought I'd use a simple case study. We often wonder how much our efforts in social media are really worth anything. Contributed to a discussion in LinkedIn on Monday. About an hour later, I had an EVP for a sales marketing firm in San Diego send me a note going, wow, great comments. How would you like to relocate to Southern Cal? Yes, I would. Less than an hour later, I had an email from the CIO of the company, and then we did an hour-long phone call after that yesterday. So, I mean, in less than 24 hours, went from generic comments to emails to referrals to phone calls to let's not hold our breath. But it was interesting to see how it works.
Nice job.
Congratulations, JT. That's good news. I'm Sherry Marcy. I'm your ambassador for GLEQ, which is Great Lakes Entrepreneurs Quest, and I would urge you all to sign up for that website if you are an entrepreneur or a small business person, or if you serve small businesses like that you write music for them or something like that. We do contests twice a year, so you're sort of in the lull right now. But if you sign up, you could either be a mentor, or you could also win a prize. The website is www.gleq.org. Sherry Marcy.
Hi there, I'm Cynthia Richardson with People Focused. People Focused provides human resources management services to small businesses. Think of us as your part-time, on-site, as-you-need HR manager. And if you'd like more information about People Focus, please feel free to tune in to the Lucy and Lance Business Insider Show on Monday morning at 8:40, and you can learn more about me and People Focus. That's 8:30 Monday morning, 12:90 a.m. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Megan Crosby with the Ann Arbor Fleming Regional Chamber. We are partners with LA2M and very happy to support this wonderful organization.
I'm Kim Katchadorian. I'm currently in transition, so if you know someone who needs a good marketing person, geekymarketer.com is my website.
Hi, I'm Samantha Sevick, and I'm a singer, songwriter, guitar player who has recorded and performed professionally for over 15 years. I'm also a freelance graphic designer and illustrator, and my day job is working in-house as a designer and marketer for a local Ann Arbor jewelry designer. So, jack of all trades, and this was a very enjoyable program. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm
I'm Carla Rice, and I have the pleasure of working with Don Kline every day.
Good afternoon, my name is Kim McIntyre. I am in the middle of transition career, so I'm looking for marketing positions, either marketing strategy, marketing intelligence, or competitor analysis. So if you know of anyone looking for someone, please let me know. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Stacy Collick with Dollar Bill. We're a local digital print firm, and we love to help nonprofits save money and look great to their donors. I guess that's what you could call them, or fundraising events, things like that. And I got to sit next to the baby.
I apologize for remaining seated. I'm Barb Chaffer-Othnier. I'm the marketing director at the ARC. We present a lot of the artists that Fleming artists represent, and thanks for the presentation, Donnie. And this is Mira. Apologize for the sideshow.
Hi, I'm Claire Harold. I'm the new graphic designer at Move Communications, and we do everything from print to web to video production, and we do a lot with music for our videos. So this was great.
Hi, I'm Susie again. I'm the vice president of Fleming Artists, where Don works, and we high five every morning. I also do a lot of print work for a lot of artists, so posters, t-shirts, stuff like that. I do that. I also manage a group in Ann Arbor called Nervous But Excited. I don't know if anybody knows those guys, but yeah, that's me.
I have another ringer from Fleming Artists. I'm Cynthia, I'm the business manager, and Don introduces me. Come on, Don, do it for me, where are you?
Hello, Cynthia.
Thank you.
I'm Rebecca Priest, just relocated to Ann Arbor from the DC area, and I'm at the University of Michigan Health System in the marketing department.
Hi, I'm Carly Pacini. I just relocated back to Michigan from New York. I went to NYU and got a music business master's degree. And I've come back here hoping to get some sort of work in music business. And I know that it's limited here than other places. But before, I was a music teacher in Michigan, so I taught band and choir and everything. So I'm kind of just looking for anything, music business, arts management, all that kind of stuff. So thanks.
I'm Mark Olivier, and I do affiliate marketing.
I'm Rich Austin, the Sailor Trading in Ann Arbor, and a lot of companies come to us not because they're not good at what they do, but because they're frustrated with sales process.
I'm Joel Vergen. I do internet marketing consulting for small businesses, local businesses especially, and also an entrepreneur. Sherry is at GLEQ.org or GLEQ.net. Because I've been on that site. It's a great site, a great organization. They've been helping me with the
www.gleq.org.
.org? Okay.
Thanks, Joe.
And laser projects I've been working on, for example, will help raise funds for nonprofits for worthy causes by marketing, using fundraising funds, things like that.
I'm John Heitkamp. I work for Kirk Oakville in Troy, Michigan. I just came over here to meet my son for a drink.
Actually, I think I'd like a drink too. My name is Joey Sylvian, and I have marketing and social media business, help people enhance their marketing program. And Lucy, I was on your radio show. We haven't met since it was radio, I think about 6 or 8 months ago, talking about social media, I believe. Joey Sylvian, social orgs.
Hi, I'm Steve Schwartz. I have a company, Alpha Django LLC, web-based software. We build web applications. I was also actually in a Flint-based rock band for about 5 years before we relocated to Ann Arbor for a year and then broke up. But for the next band, I definitely plan on going to Don when we're starting out. So thanks for the presentation.
Hi, I'm Anthony Barden. I'm actually a composer. I have a film scoring degree from Berklee College of Music in Boston. And I write music basically for that we're talking about movies, TV, video games, commercials, and websites. So if anybody's looking to have something custom written or looking for music, I have a whole library. My website is serenitynowmusic.com.
Exactly. Serenity Now. Hi, I'm Mike Wynn with Sandler Training, and we work with professionals who are constantly working on growing their business, and We help sell more without being salesy. Is that possible? That's something that's interesting to you. We do have a seminar coming up next Tuesday. Come and see me. Be happy to invite you and waive the fee. So Mike Wynn with Sample Training.
Hi, I'm Rob Gorin. I'm a marketing strategist over at Google AdWords. I help businesses be more profitable from their websites. And I also volunteer at Ann Arbor Civic Theater and manage some of their marketing stuff.
Hi, I'm Megan Mead. I just graduated from Michigan State University. I'm currently interning at Ingenix Digital Marketing.
I'm also a part of the Ingenix cluster over here. I'm interning. I actually got my internship coming to this meeting, so it's a great place to network, meet people. I highly recommend it.
Hi, I'm Eric Rodriguez, Client Services Manager with Ingenix Digital Marketing.
I am Jim Campbell, and I help people get more traffic to their websites. We do and specialize in video productions. Company name is excitingproductions.com.
Karen and Bob Kesselberg, and we're just small business owners and wanting to learn some of the marketing skills so we can keep up with our grandchildren. That way you can keep your thumb on them.
My name is Roger Retkowski. I am also currently in transition. My background is in print production and marketing. Actually used to work for Borders corporate offices and their signage and marketing collateral for 5 years. So if anybody knows, I also do freelance graphic design. And I was telling Don earlier, I've actually started doing some, I used to do some college. I'm kind of kicking back into it a little bit, doing a little DJing on the side. So kind of doing a little bit of everything. I thought this talk would be very interesting to see how it can be incorporated in with the website technology and stuff. So I enjoyed it very much.
Hi, I'm Carter Sherline from Print Studios, and I'm a commercial editorial and portrait photographer. And I'm not very loud. The amplification.
He's Carter Sherline with Frog Print Studios. And he volunteers to take pictures of our group, and we try and get them up on the website. Carter puts them up on Flickr, and then we embed them in the website. He's a great photographer, so Frog Print Studios. And again, Derek Marabon, Ingenix Digital. I think we finished a little early today. 12:54, that's wonderful. No, we're not done yet, so don't get up yet. But okay, a couple things. We don't have any more A25 or window claims, huh? Did someone take them? They must have took them last week. Thank you, Ben. Please like the A25 page on Facebook. That'd be a really simple thing you could do. And Mr. Heitkamp, thanks for coming. Good to see you back there. And thanks to all you newcomers who came. And we are planning, Dee and I are working very closely to plan a very exciting program for the fall. It's going to be very exciting. As you know, we're taking a break and then we're starting back up. And yeah, so the fall is going to be very, very exciting. And with that, I'll pass it to Dee Davey.
Thanks, Derek. I'm Dee Davey, an independent marketing contractor. Please keep me in mind and think of me if you come across referrals for any marketing managers or marketing teams who are overstretched or under-resourced and need to get some marketing projects off their desk without the investment of a full-time marketing resource. Or if you're aware of any product development teams who have an idea for a new service but lack the time or resource to actually get it off the ground. Or any creative agencies that need to get under the skin of their clients to identify the key marketing messages that will bring them new business. Dee Davey, Creative Ideas Marketing. I'm also the voice of Lunch Ann Arbor Marketing, working with Derek, as he said, putting together the speaker program. A reminder, no Lunch Ann Arbor Marketing next week, 21st of July. It's the Ann Arbor Art Fair, so we will see you on the streets of Ann Arbor. We will be following up on the 28th of July, however, with a really interesting presentation. We have Al McWilliams from Quack Media, a really cool guy, and he's going to be talking about marketing to the 14 to 35 demographic audience. So another really interesting Lunch Ann Arbor marketing topic to close out this season, and we will be back in September.
Yeah. Does anyone in here know Al McWilliams? Okay, right, he's crazy. So I'll bring the baby. Barb. No, I'm just kidding. But it's going to be crazy. So really, bring your friends because that one is going to be pretty neat. I don't know what he's going to do. So thanks. See you next time. Sweet.